Hi guys, welcome to your positive ed lesson for this week. Now, following on from help seeking, which we did last week, is having a look at what we call a catastrophe scale. Now, the reason why catastrophe scales are important is because they help you to put all your problems into perspective. What that means is helping you to see which problems are worth worrying about, which problems are kind of in the middle, and which problems aren't even really problems. They're probably just small little things that don't take much effort to solve. And maybe even sometimes we don't even have to worry about them at all. They're only really small things. There are some people who worry about things even before they've happened. So there might be a person at school and they've got to give a big talk in front of the whole grade, and they worry about all of the things that might go wrong. They worry that they might forget what they're going to say. They might worry that their PowerPoint presentation's not going to work. They might worry that someone's going to laugh or make a funny face. And then when they get there on the day and they do their presentation, none of those things happened. So all of that worry and all of that stress that they put on themselves was all for nothing, because the presentation actually went really well. So this showing us that sometimes we worry for nothing, and that maybe some things aren't worth worrying about. So if we have a look at this little example over here, it's got things up in the top of the catastrophe scale, things that we would give a 9, an 8, 9, 10 to are really, really bad things that need us to worry. Like if someone was really sick, we would worry about them. Like if we had to go to the doctor for a serious reason, or if someone was hurt, we would be really worried about that, and that would be a serious problem. On the other end is things that are really, really small, like forgetting something, or someone giving you a funny look, or someone saying a silly word to you, which are probably things that maybe upset you a little bit, but we can probably just brush them off and ignore them and really not let our worries and our stress get high up into this 9 and 10. The ones in the middle can cause us a bit of stress and are probably things that do need a little bit of worry, but we still need to make sure that we're not letting our worries get so big, because that's only worries for serious problems. So let's have a look at some of these examples. We're not going to do them all because there's so many of them. But for example, you spill a drink on your trousers. What are we going to give that? Well, I'd probably say that that's a pretty small problem. We can easily go and get changed. If we're at school and we can't change, we might feel a little bit silly, but it will dry and it's probably not such a big deal. What about if you spill your drink on your computer and it stops working? Well, this is probably a good example of a medium problem, because our computer not working is going to cause us a bit of stress, and we're going to worry about how we're going to get it fixed, and maybe we're a little bit nervous about telling mum and dad. It's not as serious as someone being sick. We can always get a new computer. So I would rate that as a medium problem. If we lose our pen, I'm going to say is a very small problem. But if we lose our phone, again, that could be something expensive. That could be something that parents would be a little bit upset with us about. So that would be a medium problem. If you have no one to play with, that's an interesting one, because it does make people feel very sad. But if it's one time when we don't have anyone to play with, and we could probably think about what we could do to find some people to play with, if we don't have anyone to play with for 2 weeks, well, that's a bit different. That's a bit more of a medium problem rather than a small problem, because it's happening to us lots of times over. It's happening to us repeatedly. Things like there's a spider in our shoe. Well, that depends on how much you don't like spiders, but I'm going to say that's a small problem. Your dog escapes from your yard is probably a pretty small problem, but as you can see, it can turn into a medium problem if we're worried about our dog getting hit by a car. So there are very serious problems, there are medium problems, and there are small problems. On your own catastrophe scale reflection, you are going to reflect on a problem. It could be one that you had a long time ago. You might even think about one that you had when you were at school. Or it could be one that you're having now. Maybe something is going a little bit wrong with your homeschooling and you need a little bit of help with something, or it could be something related to home. Is there anyone else involved in my problem? So it could involve another person. Who are they, if there is? Now down here we've got our catastrophe scale. So this thing that you're thinking of, perhaps it was that there was a maths problem on your homeschooling when you were on the computer and you couldn't figure it out and it was really tricky. You wanted to ask mum, but mum was working and you had to figure it out by yourself and you were a bit flustered. So how do you feel about your problem? You're going to give it a little rating and maybe explain. But the best part about problems is that we have to try and solve them. So how are you going to help solve the problem and who could you ask? What are the steps to solving the problem? And if you need some help with a maths question and mum was on the phone talking to someone for work, is that a small problem, a medium problem, a big problem, a huge problem, or a catastrophe? And see if you can put that in one of your ratings. You can take a photo of this or you can save it and send it to me via Seesaw, and I'll speak to you soon.